Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Challenge All Stars RHAP podcast for episode 3 for Challenge All Stars 5. I'm Brian Cohen. Here with me, as always, is my co-host, Lasher. How are you?
I'm all business because we have a lot to get to today. Well, I'm really putting the casual in business casual, but lots to discuss this week. A lot of old business, but how are you before we get to it? Are you ready?
I'm good. I'm excited. My mic, as I was doing the intro, was like started tipping up and falling away. And I didn't want to have another incident where no one could hear me again. So I feel like I butchered the intro, even though I've been doing it for so long. But I'm good. I'm excited. Fun episode. Ready to get into everything.
Yeah, I was too busy worrying about what I was going to say during your intro for me to have noticed.
As you should. It's like reading ahead in school. You got to know what paragraph you're going to be reading.
But we have a lot of old business from last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we think Adam is in the comments on YouTube clarifying some things. So first of all, thanks to Adam and thanks to the few listeners who were celebrating my rightness. There was a rule change. Adam says, you were right, the rule change. Steve stole my star when he beat Jay in All-Stars 4, and now in All-Stars 5, if you have a star and win, you do not get to steal rule change. Let's talk about this just really as it relates to All-Stars 5's format. It is a little anticlimactic. Like, when I was updating my little chart in my notes, and I was like, oh, all the stars stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like we should be doing some more switching and swapping.
So, I know you just said let's keep it to All-Stars 5, but is anything that's happened so far different? Like, if this elimination occurred at All-Stars 4, where a star holder beat and eliminated a non-star holder, something would have happened?
The winning team, if they had a star, took a star and gave it to somebody else, which was the example of like with Leroy. And I think it's different because... And that's what happened with Steve. Steve had a star when he took Adam's star.
Right.
So
that's right.
I think it was possibly different with like having individual eliminations and not team-based, right? Like that was, you could only steal like a I don't know, whatever. But I think it does in All-Stars 5 function as a way to force people to actually go in. Like, unless a star holder beats another star holder, which is sort of can be configured in the house, but it's a small number of teams, at least in the early days, a small percentage of the teams. You have to go in and get the star yourself. Like a star holder would have to beat another star holder in order to have a star to will.
Yep.
And I don't even know if we have confirmation that that's what would happen. I assume that the winning team would assign the losing team star to someone else.
We don't know yet. I mean, maybe it'll be floating up for grabs and like the next daily winner gets it, or the next time there's a non-star holder winning an elimination. So yeah, we don't know. I don't think that's been set for what the new rule could be, but that'll remains to be seen. Maybe next week, but hey, based on how they were teasing it. So
we shall see. So the other piece of old business is like, I thought the audience was going to be with me up in arms about the Flop-Tina end of the challenge where we yada 3 teams results. They don't even compete. Not a lot about that. I mean, you know, Cara, and we'll get to it, took a lot of the wind out of the actual episode sales. But most of our listeners were in disagreement with our unified take that Amber and Fessel made a bad move.
I was surprised. I don't think we've ever had a situation where we both have agreed on something and everyone else has disagreed. Usually it's like they pick a side, like we disagree and they'll all pick one of our sides. I can't recall us being on the same side of something and the entire audience being another. And I still think we're right. And I think this episode, the way Leroy and Devin play it, the way they get Sylvia and Kellyanne out of it, I think is great. And that's not what they should be doing. And I think Fessel and Amber B still screwed the pooch.
So let's give the argument to the listeners, because neither of us were willing to make their argument. So I just pulled a couple of the comments from the Facebook group. Robbie Freeman said, surprised by Ali and Brian's critique of the Beth Johnnet selection. Thought it was one of Fessy's better moves, They make no real enemies and have a strong team. Adam and Steve, grateful to them. Brittany and Mel, which I was like, who's Brittany? It's like very who's muffin. I think you mean Nicole, but I don't know. Both have friends in the house that would be bitter if they went in. Also, Fessy has to consider the impact a move might have on future seasons. Beth and Janae are way less to have long-term blowback compared to Mel, Big T, or Devin, all people he probably say in the trash proper. And then Alex Kulik said, I thought it was a smart move by Fessy. I had my whole rant about the format elsewhere. But with this format, it's going to be really easy to throw the same team into elimination over and over again. And it's looking like the name of the game, at least early on, is going to be throw the strong teams in. So, the argument being, they're a great meat shield, and if you get Adam and Steve a team that they can beat so that they stick around, so that they continue to be the house vote.
Yes, a lot of arguments there. I'll try to dispatch a few of them. I understand their points, but let me fight off some of them. The first one on top of mind being that Fessel needs to think about future seasons. I would say the fact that he wasn't on 40, to me, would say he shouldn't be thinking about future seasons. He should try to get a win when he can, because who knows his status for future seasons. Ooh. So let's fight off that one.
What? I'm sorry. Did what?
I'm fighting off the arguments. I'm trying to fight off the arguments.
Okay, like arguments 1, Brian 0 based on the physical fight, but okay.
I get the first thing. The next one regarding all the meat shields. I'm just picking and choosing the way they pop the bag, because there's a lot of different ones. Regarding keeping other meat shields, I would say there's a lot of teams of the similar status of Fessel and Amber. I don't think Fessel and Amber are like some overwhelming favorite. I don't think there's other teams that are overwhelming favorite. I think between the 4 star holders, Amber and Fessel, and maybe like 1 or 2 other teams that are like pretty decent, there's a lot of teams like in the mix. And I think for Fessel and Amber, they should be trying to pick and choose who of those teams they want to work with and focus on getting the rest of them out. So by placating everyone, to me, it does nothing. So I think that's like, you need to get some of them out to help your chance. So I think that's still bad. Getting the weak team out, to me, I find that to be very bad. So I don't think I did the great job of fighting that one off, but I have another big point. Leroy and Devin make the pitch this week of, we don't want to create the precedent of going like star holder after star, like star holders throwing in against each other. Fessel and Amber are not even star holders right now. They weren't going to be star holders after last week. So having the star holders cannibalize each other and creating the house dynamic of the star holders cannibalize each other is fine for them. They're not star holders. They're not going to be star holders. Let's let the star holders, who are for the top teams, and have the house rally behind this idea of let's get them all out, would be great for them. And then they can just float on by, let all the star holders eat each other, and then they swoop in and they're in good shape with like they're the best last man team standing.
Okay, so who are you saying they should have put in?
I think they should have. I think Kellyanne and Sylvia was like the way Devin I think it was a perfect team to throw, like that type of team.
So I think Fessel and Amber should have put in Sylvia and Kellyanne,
or Mel and Nicole. I think they should have thrown in a team that was like middle of the road, decent, that could win, like a decent enough team that could do well in some things, but not going after all the big threats. They should have thrown out like a decent team to get them out, like assuming that Adam and Steve would beat them, but it would still be getting out a team that's like a moderate threat to them.
So like two-time All-Stars champion Janae does not make their team a decent team. I'm just no. Okay. So here's my issue, and it's gonna bleed into this. I only realized this was my issue watching this episode. I think the problem is the edit. I think the sneak attack, I think why we were so united, you seem firm in your belief regardless. I feel like watching the episode, they made a case potentially for Frank and Sam. There was a case being made by Amber for Nicole and Mel, or apparently Brittany, according to Robbie. That's my favorite thing ever. Brittany and Mel. There was no case made for Janae and Beth. And suddenly, Janae and Beth, and they make it like Fessel just sprung it on Amber last minute, chickened out, put in what he thought was the weakest team, and was like, no, trust me. And my the way I'm always going to react to that is like, that was a bad move. Now, I think it was a bad move. We've talked about it. I tend to agree with you. I agree with what we said last week. I'm not having a total reformation of my idea or my thoughts. But this week, same thing. Now they went backwards and like told us what happened, but not even. Like they explain why they put in Sylvia and Kellyanne as Frank just suggested it. We are the ones as the viewers who have to like put the pieces together of the deal that was made or why it's a good plan. You just advocated for it. But the edit is really doing the audience no favors, or I should say doing the team in power no favors, because they're making these ideas, the decisions look so haphazard and so thrown together and so last minute. And I don't know if they really just don't have a lot of time and these are kind of like, we only had time to talk to two people, or if the edit is just being kind of slopped together. So I think that's really my issue with last week. And I had the same issue this week.
Yeah, I think this week was odd because I understand like it is a fun editing trick of doing the genius style of keeping the audience in the dark and they're doing like a wow surprise and doing a flashback of like what went down. But I think the problem with something like that is doing it every week. And I think the fact that they already did it last week and they're doing it again this week, like I don't see what the benefit was of doing it out of order. Show us the conversation with Frank and Sam first. And then even show us another conversation. I'm sure, as Devin said, he was planning to talk to every team. I'm sure he made some sort of deal with another team in the house. Show that conversation or show like a deal he didn't make. And then like maybe there could be ramifications of it going forward. But to do like the trick of, we're not going to show you who it is until the flashback later, I think it's fun once or twice. But now I'm concerned that it's back-to-back weeks and that's going to be what they're doing moving forward for like the whole season. And that is concerning.
And we didn't even get a real explanation in the flashback. So that's what makes me think it's not that like, ooh, look at how good of a storytelling, interesting trick we're doing. It's like, you know, we're not getting the explanation. So I'm getting frustrated with that. Like there's enough intrigue in, I thought the first, you know, I was going to say the first episode, the first decision, which was the second episode last week of, is it going to be Mel and Nicole because of this like misunderstanding that Nicole's kind of gotten herself in hot water with Amber? Or is it going to be Frank and Sam and they're going to honor the request of the team that goes in? That's the intrigue, baby. I didn't know it was going to happen. That's interesting. There's a case to be made for both sides. Let's see the result. Drum roll, please. Third door that nobody even talked about and then nobody explained. Like, I didn't even think it was such a cute reveal. I was excited for the storyline they built up and then they abandoned it. So hopefully we don't continue it, but I am concerned.
Yeah. And it's not typical. Like All Stars is usually paint by numbers style challenge where they usually do lay it out. Like this is exactly what's going to happen. There's not a lot of surprises from the other season. Like who goes in, they usually lay it out exactly. So maybe they just want to do something different this season, but not my favorite so far.
So let's kick off with this episode. We'll close the door on some old business for now. I'm sure we'll have more next week. Fun pool day vibes. I did think Turbo and Nicole were going to fight, but they were just going to play cornhole. That was a misdirect. It
is very odd to see Turbo doing normal human things, like playing cornhole. It looks so out of place because I can't picture him being like an actual person like in society. I just feel like he's like someone that just like causes havoc everywhere he goes. So just watching him like chilling playing cornhole was like odd. He just doesn't seem like a, you know, relaxing by the pool playing cornhole type of guy. But it was fun to see that side of him.
Did you see the song Turbo put out, Wine Me, Dine Me?
Oh my God, not yet. I can't wait.
Spare yourself. Chantel sent it to me. And yeah, like I'd almost like to do a blind react, like where you play it not on the airwaves because it is NSFW. It's not safe for home. It's not safe for work. It's not safe for the car. It's not safe for being alone in your house under your bed. Like it's just not safe.
So it's not going to be played at the reunion, like what's her name played her Alien song.
Well, one of our listeners in Canada said they're dropping the C word unedited on air there. So I don't know what could be aired, but yeah, it's
I'll tell you.
I mean, it didn't make its way to the Facebook group. I certainly wasn't going to put it in there. I didn't want to be associated with it. Anyway, but yeah, chaos wherever he goes for sure. And And some chaos gets resolved in the way a classic rivals challenge would between Kellyanne and Sylvia. We pick up where we left off with them of they had a fight at the end of last week, which I do like. I like that they gave us a little bit of a teaser. We saw the fight last week. We come in and they're on separate sides of the house. And Sylvia's commiserating with the bulk of the Lavender Ladies Alliance, which I don't know that we've really talked about how Ashley and Shane and Sylvia are all there in the house together.
Yeah, it's a throwback to the mid 30s of the challenge, or I guess maybe the early 30s, where this alliance was kind of formed. And it almost gives even more credence to what I feel like was a good decision for Leroy and Devin, and why maybe Amber and Vessel also like missed their shot of like breaking up this trio, because there are three pretty strong alliance across different teams, all with varying degrees of strength within the team, all different personalities. It would be good to kind of break up that voting block of a threesome. So yeah, but it was fun. It was, you don't really think about them as like a powerhouse alliance just because they didn't really reach endgame a lot of the times, but they are like a larger voting block style. But it was fun to get that throwback of them.
Yeah, I also didn't know really where they stood. So with like what led Ashley to not returning to the show, I didn't know if that like shook up any of the relationships. It seems like from the reunion, Amanda and Ashley are still really close, so it seems like Shane's characterizing them still as an alliance. So Amanda is probably just pissed at home in her devil ears, like, how the hell did I not end up on everyone's my rival, all my friends are on the season, why am I not on it?
Yeah. And we have so this is an odd thing because we have Kellyanne doing her thing, comparing starting to compare everyone to dogs. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be a very fun segment. It was just Sylvia, and then we get Adam at the end. Like, I'm sure she did all of them. They couldn't have picked a few more to make a fun segment. They just had Sylvia being compared to a Doberman, and then Adam at the very end, Golden Retriever, which I also feel like is not right. But I don't understand why they cut that segment so short.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get graphics. It was going to be sort of like a Devin style thing. I agree. What was weird is at the end, we see Sylvia say, like, I said you were like a chihuahua. So it's almost like they also asked Sylvia to classify Kellyanne. So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that Kellyanne really walked through the whole house and they were building it. Because as you said last week, Kellyanne likes dogs. That's like pretty much the only thing we know about her. So maybe production also was like, is she like any dog? Can we make something here?
Yeah, and it was an odd setup to a very short-lived segment.
Do you think Sylvia's a Doberman? I mean, I'm not a dog, but like I don't know about dog breeds. So like, does anyone jump out at you as a particular dog?
As a dog person, I would think I am more like I would know other dogs, but I really don't. Like, it's like the type of thing where I have a car, but I don't really know other cars. So like, if you want to ask me like who's like the closest to being like a mini golden doodle, like maybe like Katie maybe would be that. But other than that, I'm not good at picking out dog breeds. But let's see. I don't have one. That was a long.
Yeah, this isn't that. We don't. We don't. This isn't our thing. This could be for someone else. It's not for us.
It's for Kellyanne, but we didn't get to hear
it. Kellyanne's complaining to Frank, and I just have to say, we have been blessed because Frank's series of listening to Kellyanne, really active listening, thoughtful, like care about you, saying like exactly what someone in her situation wanted to hear, and then looking point blank to camera and being like, I don't care about any of these people. I cannot wait to send them into elimination. Like, ooh, this is vintage. This is like a classic player of the challenge who's not necessarily thinking about their next appearance, who's making this appearance count. I love this scene with Frank.
It's great. It makes me upset that we didn't we haven't had Frank in so long, because it's like, this is him. What, bring him back more. I want to see more of him. I almost wish also that it sucks that he's with Sam, so it's like he knows his time on the show is probably short-lived. Like, he even says like, if we get into elimination, we're probably going home. I want him to have more win equity while he's doing this. I think that'd be so much more fun. And also, I kind of feel like he's almost more suited for like a different show. Like the way he's conniving feels more Big Brothery than challenging, because challenge is much more of the competition base, and I think Frank is trying to play much more of a strategic game that is allocated possibly on like Challenge All Stars, which sucks. I would love to see his flex those brain muscles in a different type of game. But for however long we have Frank, I'm gonna enjoy it because it's been a whirl of fun.
Okay, truly cancel Brian. Your brain is rotted to the core. Like the fact that you think Frank, who is a physical Adonis and beast and strategic mastermind and entertaining AF, should be wasted on the freaking Big Brother when he is absolutely the ideal challenge contestant is sick. It sickens me. Like, that is insane. Like, yes, he's playing a more strategic game because he doesn't have the ability to rely on his physicality. He's not unable to compete physically generally, so he should like rot in a house for 100 days playing carnival games. Like, Frank is incredible, and I think Frank and Sam could really go the distance. I mean, they could have won this elimination. They could have beaten Adam and Steve in this elimination. You know, the eliminations are really, we've only seen 2, but they look really, really equalized. Like, I think between them not really being a threat for the final, them definitely being able to win, at least like have a 30 to 33% chance of winning any given elimination. I'm just making that up completely. But if you say like 33, it sounds right, right? And like their Frank's social game, like I think they could be here for, cut to them getting eliminated next week, but I think they could really be here for a long time.
They
can't
so.
win, but they could be here for a long time.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I hope he's here for a while. That'd be great.
Frank should be on Big Brother. Oh my God. That's so embarrassing.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Of course, but what a waste. Like, why would he go there? He'd run circles around everyone on that stupid show. Like, this is where he belongs. He'd go on Big Brother to get to the challenge. Oh, wash your mouth out with soap with that terrible take. His game is too good. Get him off the show. Incredible. No, but it is vintage, right? Because he doesn't seem so concerned with ass kissing to like people who are going to keep coming back. And what I think what's great about Frank is like, I'm very curious to see if he's playing like this because he's sort of like, I came back for like a summer camp reunion, but I'm not going to like continue on with the challenge. I have a husband, I have a life, whatever. Or if he just genuinely like is being himself and living in the moment. I'm very interested to see what the reception is to Frank of the other players when they watch moments like this. I think he's going to be like Teflon. Like, I really see him as like a Devin where people are going to appreciate that he's funny in the confessionals and he talks shit, but it's all in good fun. And like, if he comes back another season, I don't see people being like, well, I can't trust you. You already said to the confessional last season, you don't care who you throw in. Like, I think he can kind of pull this off because he's so like charming and funny.
It is interesting also how much he's noted how many people already like him, because obviously he hasn't been on any show in a while, and outside of like Ashley from his like original season, he doesn't have like that many strong connections from his brief time on the challenge here. So I would love to know how involved he's like stayed in the challenge world, that he's kept pretty good relationships, that people would want to work with him. I know he's kind of like manipulating like a couple of ones that we've seen here, but he knows that like everyone wants to work with him, which is surprising. I wouldn't think that he would be as well liked, because he also wasn't the most likable person on his few seasons that he was on previously. So that's like a surprising dynamic that he has going for him.
No, but you could just tell, at least with what we're seeing on TV, like he comes off like a guy it'd be really easy to just get along with immediately. This version of Frank now that we're seeing. So yeah, I'm loving Frank. Not a surprise, but I am gonna take a few minutes to recover from me trying to get the best contestant, best television off the show. Ooh. But it's also like, and jumping ahead, Frank's controlling the whole game. Now, I think it's a little early, even with only 13 teams, like to be calling every single vote, but he's the reason, at least from what we've seen in the edit, that Adam and Steve have the target week after week. And apparently he convinced 2 of the most seasoned veterans and most relevant challenge contestants there in Leroy and Devin to throw in who they end up throwing in. So Frank's right now pulling all the strings.
Yeah, it's going well. Not for Adam though. He is quite sick. He's flashed forward to today where neurovirus is like ravaging the metro New York area, and apparently he got it first. Maybe Adam is patient zero for the neurovirus going around here because he has it. Very class. This is like an all-star scene. Like first we have Steve and Kellyanne trying to get on the same page and talk about like the fight that her and Sylvia had, and then I thought it was like another hot mic, like with Nehemiah with the reunion. Like, why are we listening to someone just absolutely puke their brains out? And it turns out it was just Adam, and he's not doing too well.
Yeah, I do want to give it up to Adam, and thank you, Shane, for saying this so that I didn't have to say it and I could just repeat you about how like men cannot tolerate being sick. And that man was like an inch from death's door. Like, God forbid, like he stumbles in. I was like, because at first I didn't realize he was sick, and I was just like, oh my God, Adam looks terrible. And I was like, oh, good, he's sick. And he really is handling it like a champ. Like, I'm prepared to take a hit for defending him, what he does at the nominations, but I think a lot of people would have had a right to just like go home and call it. Like when they showed his bed just like soiled with sweat and God knows what else, like he handled it like an absolute champ. When she's like, "Are you hot?" Kellyanne's like, "Are you hot or cold?" He's like, "I'm perfect." Like, let a complaint out. Like,
yeah, I hopefully. I mean, for everyone else's sake, I guess. Hopefully, it just sticks with Adam. Obviously, Steve has to be worried for himself, but hopefully, doesn't knock some other people out along the way.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we are in a post-COVID society, I guess, but like, I guess it felt very vintage. Like, you just do not care if like a very contagious, possibly contagious sickness just ravages the whole house. Like, I don't know.
What if they all just get sick? Just cancel the season, I guess. Bring in some new all-stars.
Yeah. So that was brutal. One thing before we get to the daily, I do want to just shout out the moment that Sam and Anissa have kind of connecting over Sam's insecurity, and she's like looking at Frank do training, and she's kind of down on herself in the first challenge. And Anissa talks about her journey and how TJ the last season called her an athlete, and like there's a lot of growth and change in the challenge house. So it's like nice to see Sam and Anissa connecting, two people I wouldn't have like necessarily seen forming a relationship this season.
Yeah, it is interesting to see the show here trying to like build up Anissa only for millionaire Mitchell to come smack that right down come later in the episode about Anissa's positivity about herself. Ashley wouldn't feel the same. So that's quite the full circle arc that Anissa has in this one particular episode.
But all right, let's get to the daily Ballbuster. Perfect.
Get to the daily right after this. Ballbuster. Everyone going at once, which is fun. So all the teams have to jump into a big ball pit. They have 10 balls, all different sizes, collect them all, race them out through an obstacle course, bring it to their side. They can bring as many as they want every trip, but only as much as they can carry. So they have to do multiple trips to get all 10, and then they solve a puzzle after collecting all 10 balls to win. First team to finish is the winner.
Yeah. It's interesting. Again, I like that they're all running it at the same time this time as opposed to last time, and people more or less participated. It's a low bar. It was funny to see Dario be like, we're gonna run out right ahead with just one ball each and just like really set a tone. It's like absolutely the wrong strategy for this challenge.
And absolutely no one cared. I don't think anyone even noticed they're out front. There was no confession. Like, oh my God, look at Dario go. We're gonna have to deal with him. Yeah, there was nothing to be gained, or nothing was gained from that. So, but I like the thought, try to do something different. Good for Dario trying to do something different. Love to get the sense of new Leroy. I love the peek inside the brains of what people want to do with their money. Get Leroy, get that 529 account growing, get another investment property going. You're not going to get that much money, so I don't know how many properties you can possibly get with that, splitting it with Devin, unless he's planning to steal the whole thing, in which case then he can get even more. Yeah, but I love a financially stand king.
Actually, I think Leroy could pull it off. Like, I don't think he would, because we even get him this episode being like, I just hate the part where I have to throw someone into elimination. So I don't see Leroy after a full season with Devin, if they win, stealing the money. But I wish I could get it in Time Machine and tell him, like, you could pull it off. Like, if anyone could pull it off, stealing the money, I don't even think Devin would really be mad.
Yeah, he would be mad, but
he'd perform anger, but like I don't think he'd be like
Right.
as mad as like Sarah or Hunter.
Yeah, but just take the money, just like don't come back, or come back, and who cares? You know, getting the paycheck for showing up, but who cares? You've reached enough status where you get a pretty good appearance fee, so just do that.
Ironically, the big theme of Ballbuster was like how well a lot of the pairs work together. Like Sam and Frank really working well together, supporting each other until Sam ultimately does have to, you know, give up, which Frank isn't mad about because, as we said, it really okay. Unless, sorry, something just randomly, a ghost just knocked something off my table. Unless you're going to win, it doesn't really matter. So I think at that point it was clear they weren't going to win. Kind of a bummer there. But Anissa and Ashley working well together, even though Anissa's got cargo net anxiety, Kellyanne and Sylvia working well together. So most of the rivals able to sort of overcome the rivalry during the challenges.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot of bickering. Didn't see a lot of frustration yet. We see it later with Ashley playing out with Anissa, but not necessarily in the moment. Although I'm sure she was probably feeling it in the moment, but it didn't get voiced until they were back at the house.
And this is interesting with respect to Fessel and Amber's threat level. It really comes down to just a 2-team race between Devin and Leroy and Amber and Fessel on the puzzle. And I do think to like know Amber's history with the challenge, like she's won Fessel sort of like physical prowess that he claims to have. No, I'm just kidding. They'd be like a team you might be threatened by just in general. But I do think like it's going to start adding up for them quickly between them winning the first challenge and then coming in a close second to Devin and Leroy. Like, I do think their threat level is going to be on the rise. Maybe it's good they don't have a star. They're not star holders. Anyway, Leroy and Devin do win. And Devin claims he's ready to cause chaos. Everybody's going to think they're going in by the end of the night.
Yeah, everyone's going to be scrambling. Everyone's going to be freaking out. It turns out basically no one was scrambling. No one was freaking out. And maybe just like one team was a little surprised about being voted in. So that's what we had laid out for us from the mastermind that is Devin.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Devin go to work. Instead, we do see a nice makeup scene between Sylvia and Kellyanne. And I will be honest, I was touched by this scene. I like seeing these players work it out. I feel like we don't see a lot of this anymore because like there's a lot of pregame stuff where people just have pre-existing relationships that they're just like fighting over something from the last season or from Twitter. This is sort of like deeper rooted from a longer period of time ago, maybe. I don't know. It just felt like more real and just like a real vulnerable conversation between these two women. And, you know, they realized they have more in common than maybe they thought. And I really liked it. It was a nice moment.
It was nice. I did think Kellyanne was more apologetic than Sylvia. And I kind of thought it should have been more of the other way around. They were each kind of explaining. I know Sylvia touched on like her insecurities. They each had like similar insecurities, but it felt like, I mean, obviously they edited it down, but they more showed Kellyanne saying, I'm sorry and apologizing. And I don't recall Sylvia specifically saying that, or at least specifically saying, I'm sorry for just like that one particular line of like, you have dogs, I have a family. I was waiting for that particular line to be like rolled back and apologized for. But like, if Kellyanne was happy with the conversation, then who am I to judge?
Yeah, she started more explaining it than apologizing, right? She's like, I hurt you and you know, I said something hurtful and two wrongs don't make a right, but you did hurt me, which is why I said it. Right. It wasn't like super clean of an apology from Sylvia, but I think like getting more at the, rather than just like the I'm sorry, I felt like they were actually able to get to like, you know, I'm jealous of you and I'm insecure about these things in me that you have. And oh, really? Because you don't seem insecure. I'm actually jealous that you don't seem insecure and I'm really insecure. Like they were, I think, connecting on like an actually personal level. Did Kellyanne get like a really good apology? Certainly not. But I do believe they're like walking out of here with like a much better understanding of each other.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it seemed to do a joint confessional, hugging each other on the way out. Yeah. It seems like they're in very good standing, which is, usually the case post the rival season. It's like very rare where a rival pair is even worse off than when they came in at. So it's not surprising to see them hugging it out.
It's a harsh jump from like Beth and Johnny, but like certainly they had something really
Mm-hmm.
serious between them. And I wouldn't do that confessional with like 90% of my friends, much less my enemies.
That's why
So
we aren't in
kudos
the same
to them.
room. We do it separately.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then back at the house. Well, I'm out of order in my notes. We're already back at the house, but Adam is so sick that he
Yeah.
hatches a plan when he hears from his close friends, Nicole and Steve, that it's going to be them. Again, poor Adam. This is like, all right, let's go. Let's mobilize. Like, let's talk to Veronica. And Nicole's like, no, it's too late. Like, there's nothing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Look, obviously it doesn't work. His plan of like trying to play the sympathy card. I don't hate it. Like, it seemed like the ball was rolling very fast down the hill that I don't know what he could have done, especially operating at like maybe 30% capacity in terms of his brainwaves to like stop it. I don't hate the idea of going for the sympathy card. You never know what it could happen. I also don't hate the idea he throws out of, if you don't vote us in, you could just still steal our star. Like, it's a plea to like helps the star holders knowing that their stars are all safe. It's a free, whoever wins the elimination, they're not going to be creating an enemy, stealing a star. They just want like a free pass for this week. Just get the star off me, and we'll be fine. I thought that was a decent plea given the circumstances.
Yeah, and I think that was Steve's idea, just to give credit to Steve.
Okay,
And he's sort of
which
like,
would
is
make
that good
sense.
with
His brain
you?
isn't being fried by a fever.
Yeah, Adam from behind the nebulizer is like, maybe we should do this. Like, the man can't breathe. Like, oh my god, I felt so bad for them as a team. And kudos to Steve. We don't really get any confessionals a la Frank or Ashley of him being like, I'm saddled with this ill partner.
Right.
But yeah, when they actually make the pitch at the House vote, I can't take anything away from Adam trying to make this pitch, because like, he tried first to say like, well, let's mobilize, let's try to get the votes. He gets told he doesn't have the votes. Okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Just like roll over? I like
Right.
genuinely think I will not physically be able to compete. I have to try something. Maybe it will be like hatching. I don't think he actually tells the House like, yeah, take our star if you do go in. So I don't know that part of the plan got approved, or at least made the edit. I think you'd be more successful if you're like either making a pitch to Mel and Nicole, like one of your actual allies, like, we're gonna get picked off one by one here. Like, we need to actually put someone up who can beat them, so we can make a change in this house. You can steal our star. Like, are you feeling like it's your time to go get a star, considering every single person has to get a star?
Right.
Maybe there's a pitch there. Now, you might not want to manipulate your friends, so that's good on them for not doing that. I just think you'd have more success in a one-on-one pitch than you do like making an open case to the House. Like, who in that
Yeah.
moment when all the votes have been decided is going to like volunteer
Right.
when they're not even talking to their partner about it? But I don't hate the move. I don't hate the effort. And I felt horrible for Steve and Adam this whole episode.
Yeah. Like, this was All Stars 1, where like things were happening very old school style. Maybe there would be more sympathetic ears that like the sympathy play could have worked. Yeah, it's tough though, just to toss it up to like anyone. Like, if they had a name, the problem was like even after the last week's vote, there was no other name that was very strong to getting a lot of traction. So like it wasn't gonna happen here either. So they were pretty much dead on arrival, but it was for what they could try to grasp at. I thought they did a decent enough job.
So yeah, the only other teams that get votes are Steve and Adam throw a vote on Frank and Sam, and Katie and Veronica throw a vote on Big T and Corey. Now it's actually 1-1-9, which is what was shown last week. I'm going to assume Steve and Adam voted for Frank and Sam last week in their untelevised vote.
They must have.
Corey gets, I think, a little bit too miffed about the throwaway burn vote from a very sort of non-powerful team of Katie and Veronica.
Yeah, Corey needs to relax. Like, I know he's he's coming off his showing on 39 where he did try to do a lot during like these like sit down voting stuff, and this is where he shined. But like, pick and choose your spots, so it's like more memorable and more meaningful when you want to pop off. This was, if anything, this is only going to backfire and make you more of a target. Like, just take the vote and move on. You popping off like this, I feel like might get other people just like start like you could be the next name just because you're like reacting in a way. So yeah, it's just for Katie and Veronica. Like, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say like in Survivor, right? If you're the the backup vote, eventually people get comfortable with you being the vote. So maybe he thinks like in this world where Adam and Steve I think everyone probably thought they were going to go home based on Adam's condition. Like, oh, well, now who's the next name out? Oh, it's Big T and Corey. But just like scoffing at them in the public setting is sort of not. I'd just be more willing to vote for you after that.
Right. That's what I mean. It's not great.
So I guess we could actually just go right to the jungle. We talked about what very little we saw about Devin and Leroy's decision making beforehand. And we found out that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, it's just wild that all we saw was just like one conversation between the house vote and the elimination. It's very odd just to have it such a jump cut to that. I mean, I guess we're used to like the 90-minute episodes. Like, this is like a shortened version, but it still feels like an odd thing just to have one conversation from house vote to elimination.
Based solely on what we saw in the flashback, Devin and Leroy talked to Frank and Sam. They propose Kellyanne and Sylvia. We saw previously that Adam and Steve request Frank and Sam. Devin and Leroy go with Frank and Sam's plan. They leverage a relationship with Frank and Sam, an alliance, and go with Kellyanne and Sylvia. If we're just purely going off of that, we know it's not just purely that. What do Frank and Sam have to offer Leroy and Devin? Like, are Frank and Sam ever going to win a daily and have power? Or is it just that clear that Frank has that much social capital in the house and can kind of really swing the house vote however he wants?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter. I think that's what they're banking on as a social capital. I mean, I know they mention they're working with Dario and Ashley, which I think is just because they're star holders at the time, but I would imagine Ashley and Frank are pretty close. So like, if they're working with Ashley, maybe they also have like a connection with Frank. They want to help him. But yeah, I think it's just like they're relying on Frank being the voice of the house for at least the first few weeks. That's clearly how it's going. And I would imagine it's likely to continue for at least a couple more weeks. Just ride that out. Let Frank be the manipulator, like the target, like him be tossing the names out there. And then Devin can kind of just sit back and let Frank take the heat if it ever starts blowing back on them.
It's a good strategy for such a short game. Because, like, by the time people are coming for Frank and Sam, people won't really be worried about Frank and Sam being in a final or even being able to, like, win an elimination to take their stars. So, like, good on Frank.
Yeah.
Thank God he's on the challenge.
Yeah, this is a short game. Like, I think Frank recognizes that it is a quick game. Like, before you know it. And, like, if you were able to squeak out 1 or 2 daily wins, which you never know, like the way the trivia I'm sure is coming up, maybe you can somehow win that one. And then all of a sudden, like, you get one more vote to go your way. You do another week where star holders go against each other. You're already at like the final 6. Like, it's gonna go boom, boom, boom. Like, so you might as well play fast and hard right away. Which is why I still think for Fessel and Amber, they made like go quick, go hard, like get the stranglehold in the game, and then if you end up going into elimination or 2, trust yourself to win it, and then you're in the final, like, and against like a weaker field in the final. So I don't know. I think this is a season where you go hard fast.
If Fessel and Amber had conversations that just weren't shown, and that's why they threw in Beth and Janae, it's really not that different of a move. Yeah, like, I guess unless you're saying that Janae and Beth had no chance to beat them, but they almost beat them. Like, they were just as close to beating Adam and Steve as Sylvia and Kellyanne were.
Yeah, but I think if you're just judging them as like a team strength, I think Kellyanne and Sylvia will do well. I think Kellyanne and Sylvia are a threatish in a final too. Like, they both have been finals, like do pretty well. Like, I wouldn't rule them out doing decently there. Like, I would rule out Jonna and Beth like putting up any sort of a threat. So like I think Kellyanne and Sylvia was like a perfect team to get out, especially with the connections to the Labradoodles, which I even kind of forgot about from last week. But Sylvia is like a linchpin with 2 other teams. You separate that. Yeah, I think it's a great decision.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think the move should be to really try to knock out Adam and Steve, especially since they're, because I do think the shield of them just being the de facto House vote is a good thing for Fessel and Amber as a early target threat for winning the first challenge. Like they might be just like the next person in line if Steve and Adam went home on theirs. But I still think there were other people they should have put in besides Beth and Janae. So for same outcome for different reasons. Anyway, we get to pile it on this elimination.
Yeah, a fun one. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
You have to
A lot.
I don't know. I thought it was a creative elimination of solving a puzzle while rope starts to unwirl, and once you finish it, you hold up the entire rope for 5 minutes. I almost wish one thing that I wish the rope was like harder to keep off the ground, almost in a way. I don't know. Maybe they should have like things dangling off the rope that could have scraped the ground or fell off. I don't know how they could have done it, but I would have liked to see it almost harder to keep it off the ground. But I like the concept of you have to solve this puzzle, and it's whenever how quickly you do it, it helps like the next phase. I don't know. I thought it was a fun, creatively done elimination.
So yeah, I think the bones were good. And unlike the song, the rest does matter, because it's like that was my complaint. I didn't see a world where Adam and Steve were gonna drop the rope. I mean, they did show like in the edit, like the chain was getting close, and like, yeah, it is hard to kind of like keep track of that unwieldy rope, but it wasn't like a stack of something that you could really easily like bobble. It just kind of seemed like they were gonna be able to hold the rope for 5 minutes. What was confusing to me also is like the rope kept unspooling. So I don't really think it mattered when you like it did in theory matter how quickly you finish the puzzle, because you would have less rope to hold. But in picking up the rope, like the rope continued on both of their sides to unravel. So then it ended up kind of, that didn't bother me. It just was like, oh, is that supposed to be happening? Was that like by design? So I didn't hate. I was a 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I thought it was fun though, but I could see the drawbacks. I didn't really notice it's still unspooling when they're done. I thought like it spooled for like a half beat. Was it unspooling the entire time that they were?
At least from my aerial vantage point. I mean, I'm happy to be corrected. We can update you in old business. I don't know if we have a rope czar, but we can check it and we can fact check that. Steve with an advantage, for he had done this same puzzle apparently a million times on an app. Steve, drop the app. What app are you working on that the challenge is cribbing puzzles off of?
Yeah, we see that off Survivor. He's 3D printing puzzles. He's the Carson of the season.
Yeah, you don't even need a 3D printer. You can just download an app. Fools.
Good for Steve. I wouldn't have pinned Steve as the guy practicing challenge puzzles ahead of a season. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, he might just be like a man who's playing phone games, like, which I am too. Like, I didn't know that he was like training for this, but it was also, we didn't talk about this. It was really cute to see Leroy in the puzzle set in his puzzle section, very reminiscent of after CT became a father, and he's like, I love 10 grams, like this is great. Yeah. And Leroy, who has always sat back in puzzles, like being like, I do puzzles all the time now, and he was really helping in that puzzle.
And I think TJ said like, good job, Devin, when it was done. I don't think and then he like at the end of it also he was like, oh, good job, Lee. I think Leroy was leading the charge on the puzzle. I think that should have been a good job, Lee. Yeah,
I noticed that too. He was like, nice job, Devin. Good job, Leroy. Like, good job, Leroy. He says it twice. It's like, oh, that's really awkward.
Yeah. It was good to see him get a win though for Leroy. Obviously, coming off 40, being so like one and done on that with the era invitation. It was good to see old Leroy pop up with a win. So good for him.
It was also good for me to see some music that I've heard before pop up. We got Vitamin C's graduation song as Sylvia and Kellyanne pack up. And honestly, hell yeah. Like, we need, All Stars needs vibey music, throwback music. I'll take it. If that's what you have, I'll take it.
So we get again the losing team going back to the house, the pack. But yet again, I don't know if this is going to be an every week thing, because yet again, we had a team that was surprised by the vote. So would Adam and Steve go back to the house, or were they already packed and they would have been ready to go? I don't know. We need to see when the team that's already voted in loses. Do they go back to the house? That's the final stage of this evolution.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll be watching that bag watch. All right, so the big fight really that ends this episode gets teed up earlier on, where the aforementioned sort of Leroy alliance of Nani, Turbo, Dario, Ashley, Devin, and Leroy are all in a room talking, and Anissa's there, and that they're maybe gonna work out, but like, oh, maybe I'm melting into the couch. I'm more sympathetic I could not be. And Ashley's like freaking out in another room, like, oh, she doesn't sit around, like, go work out, like, do something. I'd rather have 0 friends and $1 million. Incredible line from Ashley.
Yeah, I think everyone, I mean, it's hard not to be on Ashley's side here. Like, I think if you're coming into a season, it's kind of how we felt with Janae. Like, Janae's coming into the season, she wants to win, she wants to do well. And for Janae, she was saddled with Beth. For Ashley, she's with Anissa. She's seen Anissa many, many times. She knows the cap on Anissa's game. She knows it in elimination. Sure, they could probably win a couple here or there. But they know probably in a final, Ashley knows, like, she's probably not going to win. And for Ashley, like, she only does these things. I think genuinely, other people we say like only do these things to win. I think Ashley's here just to try to win. She just wants to get another win. And I think she knows she's drawn dead.
I have a million reasons not to be on Ashley's side.
Oh, amazing.
Not because anything you're saying is not true. But I am kind of, first of all, it's like ironic considering the reason that millionaire Mitchell hangs her hat on stealing the money from Hunter is because he treated her like shit the whole time. And now she's treating her partner like shit. So like, I don't know if that really works in her favor doing that. But I am just kind of over the trope, even with Frank and Sam, even though Frank is taking a really good approach with it. It's like, I'm over resenting your rival. Like, the format is rivals. You're here because of your rival, not in spite of your rival. So Frank, like, now, would Frank or Ashley maybe be invited back on another formatted season? Like, they are not there only because they have rivals. But like, embrace the rivalry, embrace your rival. If you didn't have a rival that you genuinely don't like, you wouldn't have gotten a call for this season. Or in Ashley's case, you're lucky they slapped you and saddled you with Anissa because, like, I don't know. I don't want to make, maybe it felt more palatable if she was invited back, if Anissa's sort of blessing her. We talked about that with, like, Naya and Jordan. I don't know, obviously. But I just think, like, get over it. It's rivals. That's the point. You're on a team season. Come back, do your best and come back next season. Like, this is not your one shot. This isn't like a Survivor season or Big Brother season where they don't do as many repeat people. Now, from a television perspective, I obviously like it and you could still buck it. But like, in a terms of like who I'm adjudicating is correct, it's rivals. You have a partner. Grow up.
So the pushback, I would say they're not, like, for at least for Ashley, for instance, she's not upset of being with Anissa because she hates Anissa.
No, none of them are.
Right.
But it's because of their physical prowess. But that's what it is.
But that's almost not like yes, you could be upset at your rival because like you hate them. And that's like the point of rivals, like obviously that you hate your person. But Ashley, like, this could be pick a partner randomly, and Ashley would be like, crap, I'm stuck with Anissa. I think that's like that's what the frustration is.
Right,
not that,
but it is
the person. But
in those situations, usually you'd have an opportunity to switch. You'd have an opportunity. Like, the point of rivals is it is a partner game, and it is winning or losing because of, in spite of, with your partner. So get over it is sort of my point. It's luck of the draw. Janae could not even be on the season if she and Beth didn't have a fight. Like, that's just like my view of it is like, you're there because of your partner. They're there because of you. I'd much more respect, again, as like someone from the game perspective, not from a television perspective, someone like Frank, who's like, I'm going to adapt. I'm going to change my game. I'm going to go more aggressive in the social game than I would have and rely less on the physical game. That's interesting to see. Like, I respect that kind of gameplay. Television watcher Allie loves watching Ashley scream about this, but like, from if whose side am I on? Like, you're with Anissa, You're getting your paycheck anyway. Like, grow up. And also, you don't know how she could perform. She went to the finals with Jordan. Like, motivate her. If you're that good, work with her. Like, not against her. And like, talking shit behind her back isn't really going to make her want to work with you, just like it didn't make you want to split the money with Hunter.
Right. I do think also what set Ashley off also was not like, she's like, I'm stuck with Anissa. She stinks. I'm not going to win. And then you have Anissa making comments about Ashley, which I think the comments she said is almost the type of thing where if Ashley liked Anissa and Anissa was like a good partner and like she thought like a better future in this game and they're working well, like I don't even think this blow up happened. Like her upsetness of what Anissa, like calling her a redneck, was I think she was more upset because like there was already so much animosity towards Anissa and towards everything like her situation in the game, and this was like Sylvia or Shane doing it. Like that, it doesn't happen. It's like they're friends, they have the backstory, they're whatever. It was just so much, I think, pent up feelings that Ashley had towards Anissa, watching her in the dailies, watching her do poorly, and like knowing where she stands in the game. Just like, screw it, you can't be like, you're gonna talk shit about me still, and we're like, I'm partners with you. It sucks.
This is just hitting me for the first time that men might be perceiving this as a hot take. Like, yeah, of course, she's not mad that Anissa like made fun of her Southern accent. Like, literally, she could care less. Like, now alcohol is a little bit the enemy. Like, thank you to the edit for showing us. Like, do you want red or white? I need more wine. Like, definitely, Millionaire Mitchell was like on the train, I think. But yeah, she didn't care at all about that. Even when she's complaining to Fessel afterwards, like, she doesn't care. If someone you like does something, you don't care. If someone you don't like does something, it's the biggest crime of the century. Again, more sympathetic I could not be.
I thought I had a cool Psych 101 analysis, damn.
That's insane. Yeah, no, like, and Anissa, like, you know, I'm glad we're in like a healthier version of society as challenge fans, because right, Anissa switches right into like, I overstepped. I'm sorry. I thought it was safe to joke. Like that's on me. Like, I feel terrible. I hurt you. Probably like 5 or 7 years ago, Anissa would have been like matching her anger and being like, are you kidding me? Like, why are you even mad about this? You're not even mad about this. It's stupid, you know? Like, so I was proud of Anissa, again, from like a human perspective, for backing down, recognizing this for what it was, and sincerely apologizing. But yeah, like, it certainly wasn't real. Like, I don't think she's really offended that when Anissa wasn't calling her like saying anything stereotypical or like trashy. She was saying like, this is my sweet Southern partner or something. I forget what she said, but.
Do you think so? We ended last week with Kellyanne and Sylvia fight. They go in, they go home. Are we setting up the Ashley and Anissa going in, going home?
I just don't see them getting thrown in. I think they're both pretty well connected with different groups in the house. I just don't think they'd be high on the list to throw in, but
right.
Maybe. I also do want to say, like, asterisk, if Ashley really was hurt by this, I'll eat crow for sure. Like, I hope she wasn't really hurt.
Maybe Adam can shed some light in his sick state that he was going.
And it is really upset. Like, to be clear, like, it might have really offended her because she doesn't like Anissa, but
right.
Yeah, no, this felt very much like not the real issue, but something she could actually vent to her, and not like, oh, I was very nervous when Ashley starts listing, I don't say jokes about you, like, and then she starts listing things she could joke about, like your body, your history, where you come from, or anything personal. I was just like, okay, we got through it. Okay, she took it up to general. I thought she was gonna just like start like attacking her.
Right. Yeah, you never know. Don't offer to like buy your family and stuff like that. Don't you know real world Ashley coming back out?
Yeah. Oof, I got scared.
All right. Yeah, I mean the teams were setting up that maybe we're getting some star holders going in against each other. I think it was Ashley wants to mix things up. Same star holders every time. Could be some new blood down there, although I'm sure it'll somehow still be Adam and Steve, but maybe they'll go up against another star holder this time, so that could be kind of fun.
Speaking of fun, let's touch briefly on what happened with Kara on social media. We didn't really talk about how we wanted to address this, but I did get an email because I'm a patron of the Free Agents podcast when I went to open the link to the podcast for us to record. And what was here? Oh, where is it? It's so funny.
Can we play the serious music of our intro right now and then we get into it?
F bananas and F Cara Maria is the email subject from the Free Agents podcast this week.
Oh boy. Wait, what did bananas do? How did he get involved now?
Talk to Matt and Scally. I don't know.
Oh boy.
But look, I mean, the answer, what happens on Reddit, right? Like Cara talked about how she voted for Trump and used LGB notably without the T or Q plus, and continued to double down on it and say a myriad of wild things for, I don't know, 6 hours. Like, I don't know how long this lasted. It was just like,
I'm like a while. It seemed like it was going like for an extra day.
Many people weighed in from the challenge. That is all nicely aggregated on Reddit. Thanks to Matt for sharing that with us. It was a really quite miserable thing to go through for me personally, as I was looking at it. But there were 2 responses from challenge competitors that I wanted to pull to read that I thought were worth reading. But if you want to say it, no, I don't want to take up all the time.
No, please. It was horrific. But again.
Okay. So Paulie says,
yeah, this was wild.
I want to make it clear, I am part of the LGBTQ community. There is no LGB without T, the demo that literally physically rioted to get any rights in the first place. They're strong and resilient MFers, and I will always have the backs of those who need their voices heard. And then he addresses this was in reply to offensive comment about his sexuality. So, but that's what Paulie has to say in response to Cara on the subject. And then I loved this from Kylan. Cancel culture is a huge problem because one of Cara's main points is like, you just can't say anything anymore, without like the left is too woke, one of those kind of arguments. Cancel culture is a huge problem. I don't know how so many people who used to agree with that are okay with the government attempting to cancel out entire communities for our official policies. Hashtag LGBTQ+. So, I didn't expect Cara to give a political dissertation last week. I don't think anyone did. I don't think anybody was really interested in what she had to say.
Cara had the upper hand in the Carl versus Laurel argument, and she's like, "Hold my beer. Let's remind everyone that I also still suck." So
certainly the best thing to happen to Laurel this year, that we're aware of. And I was gonna say, like, people aren't really interested in your politics, Cara, but Real World alum is a government a president appointee in the government right now. So
what a time. What
Sean
a
Duffy.
Time to be alive.
And then people message me or like, do you know this guy? And I'm like, I was 2 years old. He's on the Real World.
So yes, we do.
I don't know. Like, look, I think the reality is whatever people want to say about, a lot of the challengers came out and said stuff against this. If people started not being invited back because of their political views, I think probably half of your beloved challenge, you're the audience, not you, Brian. Like, your beloved challengers would probably be not allowed on the show.
Right.
I do wonder what repercussions this will have on Cara's future in the challenge, between getting invited back, but also like between people wanting to work with her. I think a lot of people who we saw her make amends with and build bridges with on All-Star or on 40 have unfollowed her, unfriended her, spoken out against her. So yeah, I think it's Ryan Kehoe took a lot of crap for standing by her or trying to be more understanding and talk to her and talk about talking to her. He wasn't standing by her opinions. So it just really was a little bit of a bomb in the challenger community.
Yeah, I mean, the 41 cast is supposed to be being finalized this week, so we'll see if this knocks her off it. I don't know. If that impacts it. Remains to be seen.
Yeah, I'm less convinced it would keep her from being invited back on than it would keep her from staying on long. I think she already doesn't have a lot of friends, and I don't think this is going to help.
Yep.
Deservedly so. It's extremely offensive to a lot of people.
Oh, Kara. Just can't help herself sometimes. There you go. Alrighty. That's episode 3. We'll be back next week for episode 4. You can subscribe. Rob has a website.com/challenge feed. Follow me on Twitter at Cohen Brian _ Challenge wrap ups on TikTok. Cohen Brian on Blue Sky. Follow you.
Nowhere. Join us in the Facebook group. We got 5-star reviews. Let me pull those up. But
we did.
Check out New Girl Old Guy. 5 episodes in a row. We just finished up season 6. So for any New Girl fans, like kind of the actual series finale, but then there's a little epilogue. So that was a big deal. We got through it. They said it couldn't be done. And then we'll be watching Desperados, not next week. So you got at least 2 weeks to watch the movie from 2020 or whatever it's from. I know everyone's been dying to hear our takes on it. So thank you to Celtic Lass MC, Rocky Patel Rules, Lee Neva, and Jay Dre No. Crushed it.
Love it. All righty. Keep them coming. If you want to post them in the Facebook group, we had a couple of those pop up. That'd be great. Do a little screenshot and post. If you want to do that, we love it. We'll be back next week for episode 4. Till then, have a good one.